Out of 300,000 labs that we have in our country, there are only 29,000 qualified MD, pathologists, microbiologists, and biochemists. Huge disparity. So our purpose is that go down to those smaller places, give them the quality service, and make them understand the importance of diagnostics.
We have with us today Mr. Sanjeev Vashishta, MD and CEO of Pathkind Diagnostics.
If you have to genuinely do something in this space, you have to be emotional. There's nothing wrong in being emotional. To be able to understand the pain of others, and your endeavor should be to alleviate the pain from the faces of those people who are coming here, be it the attendants or the patient himself or herself. Why should he have to travel or she has to travel, let's say 50, 60 kilometers just for getting superior quality diagnostics? It all started from there.
The most exciting innovation in diagnostics today?
AI. And the best one is yet to come. I'm looking for that chip which will be embedded in your system under your skin and can shout out, oh, you're going to have this. You better get going to a diagnostic center and then to the hospital.
Yeah, this is going to happen. A misconception about diagnostic industry that bothers you?
That we are expensive. Despite the fact we're doing the work at 20th or 30th of the cost of what is being charged in the developed countries. We're using the same equipment, better manpower, more committed people, and yet we are told that we are charging more. If we have an integrated system where the insurance company's job is to ensure that less and less number of people fall sick, there will be more money spent on the preventive side. Lesser people going to the hospitals. Cost of diagnostics is only a fraction of cost of treatment.
In 3 words, what does the future of Indian diagnostics look like to you?
Promising, transformative, and indispensable.
Hello and welcome to Bold Voices, a VH original series where we bring you face-to-face with healthcare changemakers shaping India's future in association with Polymed. We have with us today Mr. Sanjeev Vashishta, MD and CEO of Pathkind Diagnostics. He had a major role in transforming SRL Diagnostic into India's largest diagnostic chain. Now he is leading and co-promoting Pathkind Diagnostics, a fast-growing company backed by Mankind Pharma. Today, we'll explore his inspiring leadership, philosophy, the growth story behind Pathkind, and how innovation is shaping the future of diagnostics in India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute delight to be with you.
Right, sir. So you have been associated with India's healthcare and diagnostic ecosystem for over 2 decades. What inspired you to dedicate your career to this space? Was there a defining moment that made you realize, yes, this is your purpose?
Interesting question. So really, if you ask me that whether it was a planned move, no. I have to be honest about it. It wasn't a planned move, though I always knew that, it's a sunrise industry back then, 20 years back, when I took a plunge in healthcare. I would say it was more of providence or destiny. I was destined to be here in this space, and I'm very happy to be here. So before 20 years when I joined healthcare, I was in telecom for about 10 years. And before that, briefly in textiles. And I started my career with a chemical company. Clearly, if I have to really tell you that you put all the industries on one side and healthcare on the other side, healthcare will have far more weightage. In the sense that, it's the kind of intricacies and the kind of complexities we have in healthcare are unimaginable because you're dealing with human lives here. As far as defining moment is concerned, there are many, but I'll cite one. When I joined Fortis, so that was the first company which I joined in healthcare space, I was heading mergers and acquisition. We only had about 3.5, a 4th hospital was coming up. And then, my job was to go for inorganic growth. And that used to give me an adrenaline rush because, from a finance background, from legal and corporate laws background, I used to love that. But after about 4.5 years, after we had, attained that scale, I thought it would be a good thing for me to get into operations. And thanks to my promoters back then, they really paved the way for me, and I was given the charge to run a few hospitals for Fortis. So this was my, I think, perhaps second day in the hospital. My, place of work was Rajasthan, and in one of the hospitals which was under my command was in Jaipur. I think it was 11:30 in the night. I was, taking the rounds. I thought there's nothing else to do because my family was in Delhi. I would work late hours, and I saw there's this, next to our neonatal ICU, there's a space where this lady was. There's a place for, a lobby kind of a place where this lady was sitting, a young lady. And her eyes were shut and the tears were rolling down her cheeks. And obviously, out of concern, I went up to her. And it was an eerie silence there. It was pretty late in the night. I asked this lady as to, what is the problem? She said, my son is very sick, is a newborn, and he's in the ICU. And when I asked where the husband is, she said, he's talking to the resident doctor. I immediately called up that time we only had one, DM neonatologist in the entire state who was with us. And I gave him a call and said, what do you think? He says, chances of him making it are bleak. And I said, can you just come here? I'll be obliged if you come at this hour. He said, I was in the hospital only, but I'll come nonetheless. Very sweet guy. He came and I told him that please keep me posted. I kept my fingers crossed, and at about 2:30 early in the morning, he gave me a call that the child has passed away. Now, next 3-4 days were like that. I would see one of the other, issues cropping up like this. I saw a lot of people, going away, and it took a drain on me really, psychologically, emotionally, and so much so that, I lost my appetite. Next 15-16 days, I called my wife that, look, it's not as easy a thing because, but then I realized that, if you have to genuinely do something in this space, you have to be emotional. There's nothing wrong in being emotional, to be able to understand the pain of others. And your endeavor should be to alleviate the pain from the faces of those people who are coming here, be it the attendants or the patient himself or herself. So that was kind of a defining moment, but there are many more, such things which happen.
And rightly said, sir, it's a service industry as we have been discussing, and we have to, get connected to the patients if you want to serve them better. Very well said, sir. So when you founded Pathkind Diagnostics, what was the core problem you wanted to solve? And how did you envision making quality diagnostics accessible and affordable across India?
One thing is, if you look at all the numbers that are thrown to us, be it the doctor to patients ratio or the number of beds per population, number of nurses, so on and so forth, you'll find there's a huge demand in the smaller towns, and which is a pent up demand which is not getting fulfilled. So we thought that it would be great if we are able to not only be confined to the metros or the large cities, but this disparity, which is a geographical disparity. Why should a person staying in a hamlet or a village or a tier 3, tier 4 town, why should he have to travel or she has to travel, let's say 50-60 kilometers just for getting superior quality diagnostics? So it all started from there. And I'm reminded of this, very nice quote by Dr. Paul Farmer. He says that the idea that some lives matter less is the root of all that's ailing this world, really, right? So I thought, this disparity has to go. And while in the metros we have got maybe, the number of doctors are many, hospital beds are there, yet in these smaller towns, there's a dearth of, those healthcare workers, doctors, other professionals. We thought, while we will be in the metros and the urbans, but we'll go deep. And that's from there, it all started. And we picked just one state to begin with. It was UP. And why we chose UP was because the most populated state, most populous state. We thought we'll go deep down. And today, we've got labs in places like Mau, Behraich, Mirzapur, such small places, though we are across 27 states now. But as I said, we used to initially, we will pick just one state, go as deep as possible, deep down as possible, and then move over to the contiguous state. Right. Idea was to give standardized service to all and sundry, really. And our limited claim to fame is that each of our lab is manned by at least one qualified MD doctors. And it may not be hidden from you. You yourself are a pathologist, very rare species, I must say. Out of 300,000 labs that we have in our country, there are only 29,000 qualified MD pathologists, microbiologists, and biochemists. Huge disparity. So our purpose is that go down to those smaller places, give them the quality service, and make them understand the importance of diagnostics. So that's all where it started.
Right, right, sir. So diagnosis is where everything starts.
Absolutely.
If you have to treat a patient, you have to diagnose first.
Absolutely.
So you have led major organizations, and before becoming an entrepreneur, how has your leadership philosophy evolved during these transition from managing large corporation to building and nurturing your own enterprise?
uh, so see, there's no one way of leadership. Somehow, I often think, what is my leadership style? And I don't find an answer to this. What I believe is that, leadership style always gets driven by the circumstances you are in. Now, if I have to just to buttress this point, if, you are in a crisis situation, right? The company is down in dumps. You have to take that company out of the woods. In that event, somebody should be there, or the leader should be there, who's strong enough to wield the stick in the hand. Perhaps the ability to take decisions pronto are required. I mean, that much of democratization as it ought to be would not work, right? Similarly, in a company where you are actually more on the innovative side, creative side, the style has to be more democratic. You have to give leeway to the people. You don't have to breathe down their neck. That's not the right thing to do. So I feel that leadership should always be situational,
Right.
right? But certain common factors would remain as is. Empathy. You may reprimand a person who's not, or your report, who's not really performing or is lackadaisical in the approach. But somewhere you have to keep, a hand behind him so he doesn't fall or she doesn't fall. That's important. All said and done, what I realize is after having, I've been working for the last almost like 35 plus years, 99% of the people are good. They want to contribute. They want to do something nice to get a pat on the back, right? Now it is again all circumstances driven that they behave in a certain manner, they behave, right? So it is important that one should have empathy. And as a leader, one should have the eye to, to see, to deal with different people in a different way. For instance, you have to deal with the people. They have certain characteristics, certain ways in which they work. So if you are able to kind of, mold yourself or inspire them or do something, they are able to, give their best. That should be the way one should be looking at.
Yeah, it is situational, and I'm sure you must have taken some hard decisions as well. So, diagnostic is an industry built on precision and reliability. How do you cultivate a culture within Pathkind that ensures quality, accuracy, and empathy across all level of your organization?
Oh, so see, what I feel is that quality is something. There's a lot of tom-tomming happening, a lot of noise or hyperbole created around quality. Quality. Everybody talks about quality, but what is quality really? And when we talk about quality, it remains confined by and large to the analytical work you're doing. The report is right, right? And as you'd be aware that if we have to divide diagnostics into three phases, it will be pre-analytical phase, analytical phase, and post-analytical phase. From the time you are reaching out to a customer or a patient, the quality starts there, right? So in every space, whichever space you are in, I think quality has to be gauged. So quality, again, I think everybody talks about it being a journey. It's not an end in itself, so and so. Which is absolutely right. I think people have to understand the relevance of quality. So we do that very, very extensively. We have a department which is very ably led by one gentleman. It is a large team. So we are, training people through that quality department, giving them lectures and, we take classes. We've got multiple programs. Actually, we've got this very strong L&D department also, learning and development department also, where, we run multiple programs across the levels and the functions. So, for instance, if you have to name a few, programs that we undertake, Synapse is one, Metamorphosis is other one, Udgam for all the new joinees, that's an orientation program. Some of them are residential programs. Then we hold quizzes. So we go really whole hog in terms of instilling those quality, thoughts in the minds of the people that they actually start believing in that. And first thing first, I think you have to walk the talk. If you're talking about quality and you're saying that, it has to be in every space, every sphere of whatever you're doing, then you have to be very, very cautious because the managers and the senior people, everybody is looking at them through a magnifying glass. So quality is not just something you just have to tom-tom about. I think actually it's really walk the talk there. So it has to become part of the DNA. We have been trying to do whatever is possible under the sun. because the network is huge today. Just to tell you, we have got, almost like 100 labs across 27 states and 2,000 collection centers who are exclusive to us, other than those 4,500 points that we have, which are the pickup points. Now, in this network, one bad fish can spoil the whole show. We're trying to build that trust around our brand. It goes for a toss. One bad person or one, kind of mistake can really play havoc. So we conduct audits very, very frequently. These are surprise audits. These are structured audits. And then we have made a structure that other than the quality team, even certain lab heads who are essentially the pathologist, they would go within their zone, the structure, the hierarchies in a manner that they can go and do the audit and all,
Yeah.
which are more of a surprise nature.
Right. So that is the way forward. I think by doing audits, you get to know where you have to work.
Yes.
So technology is also one thing that is rapidly transforming healthcare. How is Pathkind leveraging innovations like digital pathology, automation, and AI to enhance diagnostic accuracy and patient experience?
So again, I think technology, innovation, AI, what you're trying to solve really, you try to, kind of make the processes more efficient. You want to reduce the administrative burden. There's so much of paperwork and so many, dashboards which are created. And thirdly, you're trying to basically enhance the diagnostics pathway,
Right.
the capabilities. These are three things. And obviously, first thing first, we talk about technology. Look at how the world has moved on the pathology side. The beauty about our space is that we're talking about IVD, in vitro. You need not essentially get inside the lab. The lab can come to your home, inside your bedroom, take your blood, take the sample in a nice manner, right? And we do give the results to you. So what we're trying to basically solve here is that, on the technology side, today, each and every lab and center is linked through what we call as LIMS, Lab Information Management System. Earlier days, the collection centers would come to the closest lab and would punch the registration data. And the chances used to be that samples could get mixed up and all. Here, right at the collection center, they have got access to the LIMS. They'll punch the data, write everything on the TRF, right? Test request form, and do the barcoding, and also the chances of the samples getting mixed up are all done away with. Then from there, how the samples are brought to the closest lab. So again, what we are trying to solve for is a sample should not travel for more than 2.5 hours. This is what our endeavor is. And if it is traveling, while ferrying the samples, we are using top of the line packaging material, right? From those thermocol boxes to corrugated boxes on top of that, carrying samples in three ways. Certain samples require ambient temperature, certain you have to use the gel packs, 7-8 degrees, and certain have to be on the frozen sections and all, using dry ice. So we use all that. Temperature loggers are there. So we are certain that the quality of the sample is not compromised. Now you've got technologies like next-gen sequencing, Sanger sequencer, ICP-MS, mass spectrometry, flow cytometry, everything under one roof. Now you would be aware that, because of this predisposition of various diseases, because of familial history and all, there are certain genes which can be targeted.
Right.
Not only that, technology through NGS is now available, where you can do the whole exome sequencing or clinical exome sequencing, so on and so forth. BRCA is case in point. If somebody has a family history of, let's say, prostate cancer, ovarian, breast, or even pancreatic cancer, BRCA is the gene to be targeted. If it is mutated, obviously we can always check it. Similarly, APC gene is there, which works like a brake. If the cells they start swelling and all, or start growing uncontrollably, it can make those does problem in the intestine, colon area and all. Can turn into, if the gene is mutated, it can turn into cancer,
Right.
tumors, right? Similarly, for leukemias, AML and ALL, we can always have this kind of a predictive thing where we know there's a predisposition. So that is on the technology side. Second, on the digital path side, a lot is happening on the digital pathology side also. We can now share the screen, and we do in remote areas. The doctors who are not really very adept at looking at certain aspects, we have a central pool of histopathologists who are sitting in Delhi, and the images are sent to them. They are able to make out of what the problem is.
Right.
AI side, obviously, AI is going to be helping us in a big way in the times to come. And that's something which is path breaking. Uh, be it, and I can give you 2, 3 examples. One is, if you talk about, and every large company has got what we call as a call center, where you are taking the calls from the customers or the patients, just to inquire about the test or the status of the test, the report, etc. Now, using AI, you can create those algorithms, by virtue of which you are able to answer like a chat bot. These could be, done in a verbal manner also. So all the mundane work can be taken care of by AI. If you talk about lab operations, very clearly, histopathology is a case in point again, where you could, make those back-end algorithms. You can make out what is it, lymphoma, sarcoma, whatever. I mean, if you've got the more data points you have, more adept you will get in the times to come. Even for sales, we use, Salesforce automation. We've got a tool, by virtue of which we are able to tell the sales guys that, in your must-see list of doctors, you haven't visited these doctors, go and visit them, tell them about the new tests, new technologies which are there. And, so I think net, what I'm saying is that the kind of advancements which are happening on the AI side are actually, overwhelming. We have to TM these nicely and try to, see what is best suited for us. We are living in times which are really very interesting. And I feel that, we have a great future. The dearth of, human resources can actually be augmented through AI, machine learning, all these, technologies.
Right. So definitely they are making our work much better, and workflows are efficient now with the help of these innovations. And you have been talking about, preventive diagnostics. How do you see India's diagnostic landscape evolving in next 5 to 10 years, especially in terms of accessibility, affordability, and awareness?
One thing which I know of is that we haven't even scratched the surface. In our country, we say, at least pre-COVID days, we used to say that, not even 20% of the people have ever given their blood for testing, right? It's not that those 80% people are not falling sick. They may be, but they're not really aware about the the virtues or the importance of diagnostics. So I'll take that awareness piece first. How do you create awareness? So very clearly, what we are doing is that, we conduct every single month about 1,200 to 1,500 camps across the length and breadth of the country. And our aim is just to tell people how to choose the lab, which lab you should be going to. So we tell them that choose a lab where you have got a full-time doctor. And doctor, not any other doctor, but should be a qualified MD, pathologist, microbiologist, or biochemist. Go for a lab which is accredited. Because out of 300,000 labs, only about 2,300 labs are accredited. And third, go to a lab which is using automated platforms, because manual work, I mean, when you're doing the work manually, the chances of errors are there. How do you really do away with those errors is by using automation. Apart from the camps, we are, trying to reach out to the people on our own also. So the local heads, the business heads are given this responsibility to go with pamphleting and all those things. And we don't say that, you have to come to Pathkind. No. I mean, you go to any lab which is fulfilling these 3, 4 conditions. Go to any lab which means quality and, does quality work. Accessibility, again, gone are the days when you could service the entire country with one lab. Now we are going closer to the masses. Now, some people may say, why are you opening labs after labs after labs? Well, that is the way. You have to be closer to the masses. And so your sample should not travel long distances, right? So that is one way to give the, provide the accessibility. Second is through POCT. We are now looking at bunch of good stuff which is coming in that, POCT space, point of care technologies, which is pretty good. I think if we are able to take care of 3 things in POCT, one is accuracy levels. If the sensitivity and specificity increases a bit, they are able to give, more tests packed into one box. And third is affordability, which is, because these are cartridge based essentially by and large, the cost per test is slightly higher. If you're able to solve for this, POCT can be a good example, right? And obviously, you have to somehow, use telepathology or IT to ensure that accessibility is given to the people who are in the remote areas. And your last is you mentioned about affordability. So typically, POCT is one way. If you are able to go up the the value chain. Also, after the learning curve that we have, we make the instrument which are far sharper, far more sharp, better. Similarly, telepathology could be one way where you are able to generate the orders sitting at a remote location, give the reports from point X going to point Y. So all these things put together can really bring all these three essential pillars which are very, very important: accessibility, affordability, and quality.
So, sir, as Pathkind continues to grow, what's your vision for the organization over the next 1 decade?
We've got huge plans actually. So as I said, we are almost across the length and breadth of the country. So one is the horizontal expansion, whatever states or the places which are left out, we intend to have labs over there. Second is we'll obviously be going up the value chain in terms of technologies, which I call as the vertical expansion. That is also equally important because you have to be on the cutting edge. You can't be too much away from what is happening across the globe in terms of the diagnostics prowess, diagnostic strength. And really, I aspire to see India becoming the back-end factory for certain tests which are not turnaround time sensitive, not that sensitive. Just to give an example, BRCA, for instance, I alluded to that some time back. If you have to get BRCA done in the US or any Western country, it would cost something like $1,200, $1,300. We do it for a measly $125. So this is the kind of gap we have. Yeah. If we have the right protocols, right system, right logistics, and there are multiple tests like these. So why can't we make India as the hub or a back-end factory for doing these high-end esoteric tests? So this is what we intend to do in the times to come. Clearly, there's too much on our plate because India is a huge market. And as I said, we haven't even scratched the surface, right? There's so much to be done here. We are fully committed to India. And obviously, the intent is to do as much as we can to take the diagnostics, to the greater heights.
Right, sir. So now it's time for some rapid fire questions straight from the heart, sir. One word that describes your leadership style.
Well, as I said, I think I'll give it a pass because, there's no leadership style. It's all situational, circumstances driven. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, healthcare leader you deeply admire.
There are many. Again, I'm sorry I'm disappointing you. I know that. But there's so many people from whom I've learned, I can cite at least half a dozen people or maybe more. So,
you are a leader yourself.
Hardly, I guess.
One habit you never compromise on.
I think it's the integrity. And integrity not just of conduct, but also thought. Oh, that's important. Integrity of thought as well, integrity of conduct.
The most exciting innovation in diagnostics today?
AI. And the best one is yet to come. I'm looking for that chip which will be embedded in your system under your skin and can shout out, oh, you're going to have this. You better get going to a diagnostic center and then to the hospital.
Yeah, this is going to happen, I believe. Yeah. A misconception about diagnostic industry that bothers you?
That we are expensive. Despite the fact we are doing the work at 20th or 30th of the cost of what is being charged in the developed countries, we are using the same equipment, better manpower, more committed people, and yet, we are told that we are charging more.
Right. If you could change one thing about India's healthcare system, what would it be?
I would like to bring integrated healthcare, where nobody's thriving on others' woes. If we have an integrated system where the insurance company's job is to ensure that less and less number of people fall sick, there'll be more money spent on the preventive side. Lesser people going to the hospitals, right? Loads and loads of savings to the exchequer. One is because you would know that cost of diagnostics is only a fraction of cost of treatment. So if you're able to do preventive health checkups on time, people getting inside the hospital will get reduced and the insurance premiums will also come down. So that integrated system, which is like Kaiser Permanente, which is prevalent in the US, something akin to that. If we can have those kind of multiple systems in India, we are home.
Right. And your proudest professional moment, sir?
Yet to come.
Yet to come. Okay. In 3 words, what does the future of Indian diagnostics look like to you?
Promising, transformative, and indispensable.
Right. So with that, I conclude this session and I thank you, sir, for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure talking to you. Thank you.